Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold your horses. The Valley, right? I see this place was built recently. Mr. Enigmatica, quality inspector. Did you even get this place certified? Let's take a look. What does this horsey eat? Carrots? Apples? There is not even grass growing here. This is supposed to be a farm area? What sort of a magical plant is this? Dandelion? This jam looks like it has expired a month ago. Pizza, 3 jelly sandwiches, and blubber. Yuck! These poor rats. They look like they have been neglected for eternity. Dried plants, poor food nutrition, neglected animals. This place gets 1 out of 10 for poor quality of life.
Huh?
Fix it immediately, or we will shut this place down.
Welcome, friends. Well, you heard the lady. I guess in this episode we'll be working on improvements around here. First, let's talk about animals. For the longest time, we weren't completing this very first quest for the bait. And the choice for this quest is either Frisian eggs or Holstein eggs. So let's just take Holstein eggs, and if we plant them down, we can open this up, and there is a egg for the bull and for the cow. The quest actually says that these cows will only give milk after birth, so we need to make sure that they can breed. And in order for these animals to breed, they have to be well fed and should have enough water. So let's set this up for them. And right away we have the first tip of the day. The Modpack author was watching my last episode and noticed that I always carry this topic item crafting entity on my hotbar. And he mentioned that you don't have to do this, you can just place it in your inventory, save a hotbar place, and then use a shortcut which you can set up in options to bring this up and do the automated crafting. I think it's a pretty good tip. So let's craft a trough. We can place 2 of these down and then fill one with water using the tank, and another one we will fill with wheat using the flat transfer node and a chest to fill them up automatically. Now, if we hold some wheat in our hand and look at the cows and the bull, we'll see that they are breedable, and we'll just have to wait until they produce a baby. And we didn't really have to wait long. The cow has produced a little calf, and now, after it gave birth, we can get some milk from it. Now, with the Holstein milk bucket, all we need to do is craft ourselves a cheese mold, place the cheese mold down, and then right-click the cheese mold with milk. On the top of the screen you can see the aging progress, and soon this will turn into cheese. There. We can then cut this cheese into wedges. The next thing we want to craft is this red upgrade gem cutter. And this upgrade, it requires the basic upgrade which is created, and then 4 precious emeralds, which again will have to explode the block of emerald with TNT, and currently we don't have enough emeralds, so let's do some trading. Just as a reminder, we have set a teleport to this Mampu village, and in this village there lives a Fletcher. And this Fletcher has a couple interesting trades, and one of them is trading sticks for the emeralds. And then another one, if that trade stops happening, we can trade string for emeralds as well. I have set up this patch of trees and used the silkworm on it, so then using crook we can quickly collect bunch of string, and then we can make sticks from wood. And in order to make wood, I have brought my rat setup from our temporary base to our permanent base. And the reason I could do that is something which I didn't highlight before, and we had a bunch of comment exchange under one of my videos. The rat mod actually had a problem, and my rat setup didn't quite work, and the rats weren't picking items up. And in the recent update to Enigmatica 2 Expert Extended, the Modpack author Krutoy242 has found a way to fix that, and he fixed this in the last update. You can see it in the release notes for the version 0.89.0. So thank you so much, Krutoy, for fixing this. And while we are on the topic of the updates, in the last episode I told you the story of my issues with the molten base essence, and I actually talked about this on the Discord page for Enigmatica 2 Expert Extended, and the Modpack author has changed the recipe, so now you can use ingots to make molten base essence. But one of the biggest changes which will affect us in really near term is the changes to how wooden essence is used. And right now, after this last update, you can only craft wood using wooden essence. Inside the arcane workbench, you will have to spend mana and V crystals. So now that this recipe, we cannot automate it at the state we are right now, and this is why I brought rats over here, so they can harvest wood and will craft wood this way. However, we can still use the wooden essence to craft the wooden pile from forestry and then burn it into the charcoal. And this will be my main use of the wood essence, and will gather wood in some other way. And as always, if you would like to check out the latest release notes for the latest update, you should go to the GitHub page for Enigmatica 2 Expert Extended. And the Modpack author really makes these release notes very fun to read. They contain some pictures, icons, and thorough descriptions. And then if you would like to discuss any issues or report some bugs or in general talk about the pack, the best place to do this is the Discord page for Enigmatica 2 Expert Extended. And you can find the links for both of the things in the description under this video. Now that we have lots of wood, sticks for emeralds is pretty good exchange rate, I believe. In order to do the explosive crafting, I've created this platform of reinforced storm bricks. So let's give it a whirl. Let's not forget that now we can actually get more magical wood if we cut it in a block cutting machine. Finally, we can get our gem cutter upgrade and finish the quest. I will take diamond ore as a reward. We will need more rats to make them into the gem cutters, so I've created this neat little area where we can place some dirt and then quickly dig it up using this mattock, which has a cheese shovel head and therefore a ratty trait. Don't be afraid, little rat, it's all going to be fine. And so let's welcome Ellie to our base. Ellie will be our gem cutter, and she has a pretty nice top hat. And the way she works is we place a diamond into her inventory, and you can see that she starts cutting this diamond, and once she's done, she spits out these red diamonds, and red diamonds can be used in some recipes the same way as the diamonds can, except for each regular diamond you get 4 red diamonds, which is pretty cool. We will need more diamonds eventually, and we got this 8 diamond ore as the rewards for the last quest. However, if we break it with a regular pickaxe, we will get pretty small amount of diamonds, so I say it's time to upgrade our skystone pickaxe with some lapis lazuli. To get the lapis ore, we'll go to the nether, and I've created this portal. This is the first nether portal in our new home base, and I've set these 2 areas to the left and to the right, which we can use for nether portal block conversion crafts. But other way, the nether portal is far away from everything and will not be converting any blocks. If we look at the nether lapis ore, we'll see that the nether lapis ore spawns below the level of the lava lake, which is at level Y32 for me. So we will have to go down to find it. And I have set up this ladder downstairs and started digging this corridor, and I found some lapis ore. I also wanted to highlight that the lower levels of the nether are good for finding emerald ore and diamond ore. Digging long hallways at Y level 15 quickly nets us enough lapis to bring our pickaxe to the luck level 3. Here is where I'm not entirely sure what's the best way of doing this. We have this archaeologist hat which we found a while ago, and it says increases gem drop when mining by 100%. So I'm thinking that this item should increase the amount of diamonds we get. Let's see, so we have the 8 blocks we got as a reward over here, and then we have the pickaxe with the luck 3. Let's mine them all. And we got a 23 diamonds, which is almost 3 diamonds per block. We'll then ask Ellie to cut 16 of these for us. The reason to get some red diamonds was to craft hardened casings, which you can see can use either diamonds or obviously much cheaper version red diamond. And we are going to use the hardened casings to build more farmers, except the farmers need the Nori crystal blocks, which are essentially a block of iron. So I went to the nether to harvest some more nether iron ore, which we can convert this into 4 iron ingots. And in order to do this, we can go to the nether and dig anywhere between level Y31 and Y level 53 to get these, and you can see they are quite common. After about 20 minutes of digging in the nether, we have brought quite a haul back home, especially in terms of the gold and the iron. So let's put this all in our furnaces and burn these items. So using some of the resources we currently have, we can create 16 sturdy casings and convert these into hardened casings. In the beginning, I think the 5 farmers will be enough, and so to make 4 additional ones to the one we currently have, we'll need 16 Nori crystal blocks. So let's make them. With some tin electron tubes and iron sheet metal, we can create bunch of iron casings. These 4 farmers required us to do a little bit of digging and some of the manual crafting, and I intend to reduce this amount in the future. However, this will give a huge boost to our base production, especially the automated one. And another thing I wanted to point out that to sustain this farmer, again, I placed all of these 5 survival generators, and I put a stack of charcoal in each. And as you can see, over a very long time, probably more than 20 hours, they only burned about 16 charcoal each. So this amount of powering the farmer is pretty efficient and doesn't require a lot of maintenance. And so the first thing I would like to automate is the wood essence production. And like I said, the main use for the wood essence will be the productions of wooden piles, because then we can burn this thing into the charcoal. And if we'll take a look, over a long course of time, we were able to collect 16 wooden seeds. And as I promised in the last episode, I will be able to multiply these seeds, but first we'll need to make a compact machine. Compact Machines mod starts with the personal shrinking device. With it, we can craft 4 miniaturization field projectors, and we get to keep our personal shrinking device. Let me explain how these projectors work. I have created this simple structure and 4 pillars around it, but you don't really have to do this. All you need to do is place one projector and the arrow will show you where it will be pointing. Next, we can right-click the projector and then we'll see all of the possible locations of the opposite projector. So let's place one right on top of this pillar. Once the second projector is in place, right-clicking it tells you where you need to put the last 2 projectors, so let's do that. Once the last projector is placed, all 4 of them will start projecting a field, and you can do the crafting inside this field. And because the crafting is the size related, this is why I put this checkerboard pattern over here, just to make the work easier. These 5 items are the only resources we need to craft this very first 7x7x7 compact machine room. So let's do some crafting. First, we need to craft this compact machine ball. In order to do this, we'll place a block of steel. You can place it anywhere within the orange field. Then we'll place a redstone on top of this block, and then we are going to throw in a redstone inside the area of the crafting. And here are the 32 compact machine walls created. Now we are going to create this normal compact machine, which is 7x7x7 room. And in order to do that, we are going to build this structure, basically a cube, out of the compact machine walls. We are going to place the osmium blocks in the middle and finish the structure. And again, I want to stress out that it doesn't have to be centered. And then all you need to do is throw ender pearl, and again you can throw it anywhere within the field. This time the crafting is slightly longer. And here is our first compact machine room. Compact machines are pretty useful pocket dimensions. So let's say we take our personal shrinking device and right-click on it. Next thing you know, we are inside of this 7x7x7 room. All of these walls are indestructible, and we can build stuff here. So for example, we'll just place 3 blocks over here in the corner. Another thing to note is because these machines are quite small, it's good to set up an entry point. So if we shift right click at some block, this will be set as our entry point. Now, if we right click on the personal shrinking device again, we will exit the machine. And if you want, we can enter back at it again, and you can see we spawned in this corner, which is opposite of these 3 blocks. So you might be wondering right now how these compact machines could be useful. Well, let me give you an example. And for this example, we'll need to create a cleaver. A cleaver is a Tinker's Construct weapon, which has one of these most important properties is this beheading 2 property, meaning the monsters will drop their heads. So I made this cleaver out of the living wood tough tool rod, heavy large sword blade, dragon bone large blade, and diamantine crystal tough tool rod. And you can take the traits of this material over here. I also embossed it with manulin, which will mean that this tool will deal increased damage to the targets at full health, so the first hit on the enemy will be extremely painful. Next, let's take a couple stacks of lapis lazuli and improve the luck on this weapon. If you remember, in episode 5, we built this structure in order to kill wither skeletons. Regular skeletons spawn over there in the spawner, they drop into the witch water, they transform into the wither skeletons, and then we can kill them. However, now we will be getting much more wither skeleton skulls in the process. I have only spent a couple minutes here, but because of the luck trait and the beheading trait on our cleaver, our haul is quite substantial. Back at the base, we can transform some of our goodies into the wither dust. For example, 2 wither bones together, they get us 6 wither dust, and then we can convert a couple wither skulls into the wither dust as well. 4 wither dust can be transformed into the wither dust block, and these wither dust blocks are explosion resistant. At this point, I believe some of you already know where we are going with this. If we enter our compact machine, we can build a small entrapment using these wither dust blocks. This entrapment has a hole inside, which is 2x3x3, and then we have this hole in one of the walls to look inside. What we can do now is build a wither using 4 soul sand and 3 wither skeleton skulls. This will cause the wither to spawn. The wither life scale is there at the top, and because we have the Hail Hydra trait, the wither is currently exploding inside, but we can help him using our bone cleaver a little bit. And the wither is dead. Let's do it again, shall we? He had no chances, really. I had to kill 3 of them, but I got what I wanted, and that was 2 Supremium Essence. Next thing on my mind is researching the chef upgrade, because after all, someone needs to cook for these rats. In order to do this though, first we need to get some red coal, and in order to do this, we need to feed these carbon bricks, which can be created from blocks of charcoal, to Ellie. The chief upgrade though is slightly more complex, and couple things here is this emerald apples, which probably this will require us to do some more trading. The magical apples are quite easy to do. And then this honey pot, which requires honey drops, so we need to create some. Let's start with making honey. This is our future beekeeping area, and I have built this manual setup over here, and it is quite easy to automate it. We'll do so in the future. But it consists of the apiary, crushing tub, then this flat transfer node for fluids, drying basin, hopper, which leads into the chest. So first we'll take the honey and we'll place the honey into the crushing tub. Fluid honey will be transferred down below into the drying basin, as you can see. The honey will then dry, and the dried honey drop will be transferred into the wooden storage crate. For the wax portion of the recipe, we can grow this candleberry here and quickly harvest it with our scythe with the fertilizing trait. When the scythe breaks, we can quickly repair it in the tool station nearby and continue growing. Once we think we have collected enough, we can place it in this another crafting station and create a pressed wax, which then can be converted into the wax capsules. And here is our first honey pot. The rest of the crafting recipe is quite straightforward, and now we have the chef upgrade. So the only thing left is to get us another rat. Now we have a chef rat. Her name is Tilly, and the first thing she will do for us is transform this piece of nether quartz, which we will first throw into the mana pool and create a mana quartz from it. Then we will give it to Tilly, and she will cook it into the infusion crystal. Crafting the fusion crystal opens up the mystical agriculture gate, so let's collect the reward. And I think I'll just pick up another infusion crystal as a reward. As opposed to the master infusion crystal, which you can see has a pretty complex recipe, the regular infusion crystal only has 25 uses. But right now for us it is useful because it allows to break the supremium essence into the 4 superium essences. Then we can take one of these and break it into the 4 intermedium essences. And then we can break one of these into the 4 prudentium essences. We are not going to break this because breaking this gives us inferium essences, which we have plenty of. What did this give us? Well, now we can take our measly inferium watering can and quickly upgrade it to the highest level possible. And we have a 9x9 supremium watering can. Let's see this new watering can in action. I have built this 9x9 field and I connected this additional farmer here. Let's plant all the wood seeds we have here. As you can see, the plants are growing quite fast in the whole 9x9 area, and then the farmer helps us collect the fully grown plants. I've spent about a minute watering my plants and I got almost 2.5 stacks of wood essence and 2 additional wooden seeds. And we can plant these 2 wooden seeds back here, and this will allow us to grow our plant base. The more seeds you plant, the higher is the probability that you will get an additional seed. And I now have almost 7 stacks of wood essence collected, and as you can see, about 2/3 of my field are now planted. I'm not exactly sure why, but watching this plant grow and multiply is really satisfying to watch. So it took me about 2 Minecraft days, and then I got about 20 stacks of wood essence in the process. But then using this watering can, I basically filled up the whole field starting from 16 seeds, and I ended up with 80 seeds. Like I mentioned before, the main use for our wood essence is to create wood piles for burning, and I decided to do this in the Analog Crafter. Analog Crafter has a pretty simple recipe, and what's important, it's very cheap, so it's very suitable for the early game. And as you can see, the wood essence through the flat transfer node is transferred into the Analog Crafter. There we can see it takes 12 seconds, it's slowly crafted into the wood piles and then again transferred to the top drawer. So let's say we place the wooden piles and then we burn them into the ash. How we are going to collect this ash? There will be quite a lot of it. So I have crafted this new Skystone Ardite excavator. And this excavator is quite special. It has a durability of 2100, and this comes from the fact that it has ardite large plate, which has a durability of 743, and a living wood tough tool rod, which has a modifier of 2. So this is where mainly the durability comes from. It also has a skystone excavator head, my usual skystone head, and then also alumite tough binding. This binding has a global traveler trait, which will give us a possibility to harvest everything we collect into the chest. And finally, I have modified this excavator with an emerald, which gave it even more durability, and with luck 3. And this was my discovery. It turns out that we can collect even more coal and ash from these ash piles if we add luck modifier to our excavator. This is my ash pile. Let me show you how the excavator works. First, we shift right click onto the inventory, and at the bottom it says that it linked to the inventory. So now everything we collect will automatically go to this inventory. Let's go into the middle block and just harvest. The harvesting took us just a couple seconds, and this is what we get as a result. Pretty good, right? Since the ash can be fitted into the mining backpack and the coal can be placed in the compacting drawer, using compacting drawer as our linked inventory is a better option. Our well is 22 blocks deep. Let's see how long it will take me to fill it all. So in the end, we have 62 blocks of charcoal and 10 blocks of ash for a little bit of work once in a while, and I think it's a pretty good deal. With the fuel situation sorted out and our rats being mostly employed, the next issue mentioned by the quality inspector for the valley was the food. Behind the scenes, I was mostly eating jelly sandwiches, which honestly I found all of them in the villages, and they contain fruit, grain and protein, and glazed carrots, which I crafted, and they cover my dairy and vegetable needs. And I was alternating between these two foods, but honestly, we can get one food which contains everything. And in Pam's Harvest Craft you have several choices, but I decided to go with Plugman's Lunch. If we look over the components needed to craft it, then the first thing we'll need is apples, and the apples we get from our forester. Our rats are working hard to harvest apples, and so far we collected 3 stacks of them. The next component is cheese. We can craft cheese from the milk, and in our kitchen we can produce fresh milk from a cow in a jar. The rest of the components are growing here on our 9x9 farm area, right by our cows. And in this farm I wanted to emphasize that for the egg and the meat portion of the recipe, we can use vegetarian version produced from soybeans. Here's how we process the soybeans. First they go into the presser. And the presser is a pretty simple tool from Pam's Harvest Craft. It's crafted from dried bricks, which are essentially made from clay, and reinforced dirt, which is made from dirt and wood. Pretty simple recipe. In the presser, the soybeans are broken into 2 parts. The silken tofu on the left and the grain bait on the right, and the bait we can use in traps later on, but the silken tofu goes into the second presser. And there it is broken into the firm tofu and the soy milk. So the firm tofu is the components we are most interested in. It's worth noting that the presser doesn't use any energy and just works on its own. Once we have a stack of firm tofu, we can go into our kitchen area and craft so-called raw tofaiken. This is basically a bacon made from tofu. And as you can see, I crafted 5 stacks of it. The reason I was able to craft 5 stacks of raw tofaiken and firm tofu still stayed in my inventory is because these 2 drawers are standing on the kitchen floor, and this kitchen floor is connected to my cooking table. And this is by design, I just happened to forget about it, but remember that kitchen floor can be used to connect different inventories and use the cooking table to access all of them. While the bacon is cooking, let's talk about boiled eggs. There is a version of the boiled egg can be crafted from, again, firm tofu, and it requires actually a dandelion yellow. Several episodes ago, as I was traveling from my old base to the new one, I have bumped into this structure under the blossoming tree with a chest, which I didn't loot back then, and I wanted to show it on camera. Inside this chest we have a couple things, notably a couple seeds of tier 2, dye seeds and the slime seeds. I have created this third farm plot over here and placed a farmer, and this plot will be a nursery for all of the exotic mystical agriculture seeds we found. So for now, this will be our 2 nature seeds, 1 dye seed and 2 slime seeds. And this will slowly grow and multiply as we play. 10 minutes have passed and I've been running around watering my plants, and for some reason I find this process of growing something out of nothing very satisfying. And so now we have 7 slime seeds, 12 dye seeds and 3 nature seeds. So for some reason the dye seeds are growing super quickly and multiplying super quickly, and so I have collected quite a few essences of all 3 types. I crafted some yellow dye from this essence, and this is how I accidentally discovered then you can right click the dye onto the cabinets and counters in the kitchen and dye them into the color of your choice. Quite interesting. So my kitchen looks quite darker now, and I've crafted 2 stacks of raw tough eggs. If we boil these eggs, then we'll have all the components necessary, and I crafted 64 or 1 stack of Plogman's lunches. And these will last us very long time. Let's eat one. Yes, this feels very satisfying, filling your hunger bar fully like that. The stack of these will last us very long time, and I also found this garden scythe in one of the chests, and it allows us to harvest the whole 9x9 field with a single click. So this makes creation of these lunches a very easy process. However, it's still not automated. And although it's not strictly speaking necessary, I would like to make this automation. Interestingly enough, using Farmer will not allow us to automate this. Let me explain. There are 2 types of harvesting, gentle harvesting and block breaking. So if we right click on a plant, we do gentle harvesting and the plant just starts growing from the beginning. If we left click, we fully break the plant and now we have to plant it again. The farmer actually works like in this second case, breaking the plant and then planting whatever it is in the top left slot of the farmer. So if, let's say, we break a potato and the top left slot has agave in it, it will plant agave instead. So if we would use the farmer to automate this field, we would lose our nice little lines of the plants we planted here, and the farmer would randomize everything. And I would like to keep it nice and neat. And because we now have energy from all of these nutritious foods, let's go on an adventure. Our adventure would be to craft a harvester, which will allow us to automate the plant collection. To do this, we first need to get battery. The battery is crafted in a packager. Looking at the battery recipe, we will see that it needs a charged creeper chunk. Charged creeper chunks are dropped by the charged creepers, and these are the creepers which are hit by lightning. And if we take a look at the uses of witch water, we'll see that another way of getting a charged creeper, if you don't have a lightning, is to drop the creeper into the witch water and it's getting transformed into charged creeper. It doesn't show this in the recipe that this guy is charged, but trust me, it will. But I say there are more fun ways to get charged creepers than using witch water, and for this reason we'll look into the Psy mod. First, we'll need to craft a CAD assembler, and for that we need some mana steel, carbon bricks, and electronics assembler, which is actually pretty easy to make. We can craft our CAD assembler and place it down right next to our market here. Next thing we'll need is iron CAD assembly, which has extremely simple recipe. Once we craft it, we can go back into the CAD assembler and place this assembly into it. And at the top you can see the casting assistant device, which actually looks like a gun and feels like a gun. So this will be assembled. And on the right you can see the stats of our new casting assistant device. if we add a bunch of other things or use assemblies cooler than iron, then we can get our better stats for our assistant device. However, iron one will do for now. If we switch to our casting assistant device, you'll see what I mean when I say it feels like a gun and it looks like a gun. But on the right hand side, you can see that we have a 5000 PSI units. And let's see what happens if we throw some redstone on the ground and we'll right click it with our casting assistant device. You can see that we spend about 100 mana, and then this redstone is transformed into the Psy dust. Using this Psy dust and some more carbon bricks, we can craft a spell programmer, which I will place right next to our CAD assembly. Now that we have the programmer and the assembler, we can make more complex things. And in order to do them, we will create a new assembly which is slightly more complex. So as you can see, it has an improved stats. And to do this, I used a basic CAD socket, which is pretty simple. Then basic CAD core, which is again very simple. And the basic CAD battery. Once we have this new casting assistant device crafted, we can put it into the assembly, and as opposed to the very simple one, we now have 4 slots here, and this is because we have 4 sockets into this casting assistant device. Into the sockets, we are going to place these spell bullets, and I crafted one. You can see that the recipe for that is pretty simple. So this spell bullet, you can insert it into the device. However, first we need to program this bullet, and this is done inside the spell programmer. Psy is a quote-unquote magic mod, where your magic, let's say spells, are crafted through block-based coding. So you have a square grid in a spell programmer, and if you right-click, you can select from about 5 pages of different things which you can insert here. You can export the spells you make into the text file, so let me import a spell which I made earlier. Going forward, I'm not going to explain every spell I use, however I will do so just for this one because it's simple, and later on whenever you see my spell you can pause the video and replicate it on your screen. So basically this block selects the caster, meaning me holding my gun, and then it takes the operator entity look, meaning it figures out what direction I'm looking at, and then it also figures out my position. As you can see, the yellow arrow points here, so this operator entity position gets my position. So from my looking direction and my position, we are getting a vector, and this vector is raycast onto the point on the ground. And then once this position is known, we use trick smite, which calls a lightning down at a given point. In order to insert this spell into the bullet, all we need to do is take the bullet and right-click the spell programmer with the spell with the bullet. Then we can go to our CAD assembler and insert the bullet into the casting assistant device. And now we have a spell smite in it. As you can see on the right side, when we cast with a casting assistant device, we lose some of the mana, and if we look at the mod description, it says that basically you can recover this mana or Psy energy using Psy storing items, but if we don't have any of these, then experience points will be converted to some PSI. And so I have brought my XP drain over here, and if we stand here, we'll be draining XP into this tank, and then the liquid XP will be going to this tank up top. And when we flip the lever, we can see we're gaining some experience, and you briefly saw the Psy energy on the right, it recovered to the full. So once we do some casting, we can go back, flip that switch again, and restore our Psy energy. The sun is setting over the horizon, and it's time to put our new casting assistant device to the test. So let's see if we can find some creepers and then smite them and kill them for creeper chunks. So here we have more than a few creepers. So let's smite them. And then while it's burning, let's just run around and maybe hit it a couple times. And we get our first creeper chunks. So let's try to kill a couple more. And let's kill this guy as well. Now that we have the creeper chunks, let's throw all of the components into the packager and we'll get ourselves our very first battery. And with that battery we can craft our first harvester. We can put the harvester with this harvesting site toward our 9x9 farm, and as you can see here you can change the size of the harvested area. So if I highlight, currently it works in a 9x9 area, and once this bar goes down it will harvest the plants. So let me grow some of the plants using my watering can and take a look what happens. As you can see, all the plants were harvested, and now that they are here, they are getting exported to this set of the drawers over here, which contain all of the possible outcomes of this farm. This harvester needs energy, of course. In fact, it needs 150 RF per tick, and so we power it by using this structure, which is hidden underneath the ground there. This structure consists of 4 thermoelectric generators, powered by 3 blocks of uranium and 6 blocks of packed ice. Each of these thermoelectric generators generates 42 RF per tick, which gives us 168 RF per tick total, and since only 150 is enough to power harvester, we even get 18 RF per tick to spare, and this harvester will be powered indefinitely. We took a stab at many issues brought up by our lovely inspector in the beginning of this episode. We automated our food collection, we employed some rats, and we did a bunch of improvements around our base here and there. However, these dried up plants would require us lots of time to fix, and I'm afraid even the Supremium watering can will not do the trick here, so I will have to do this in the next one. For now, I would like to thank everyone for watching and for waiting for the next episode to come. This one took me lots of time to make, and I hope to see you all next time. Same place.